It's that completely nonsensical.
He was the former head of the Latin American Open Societies Foundation, and they probably want more in Lula.
That's literally not even true. I want to see how he rationalizes this.
That would be used as.
I know that's not true.
Today was the January 6th for Brazil, essentially. I mean, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what the motives are. I'm going to be strictly.
He doesn't know anything, but he's still talking about it.
Trying to report this in a factual manner.
Okay, I don't know. But you know what I'm going to title my video, even though I don't know? The truth about Brazil protests. The truth is here, guys. This is the truth. Are you ready for the truth? Let's find out what the truth is from someone who admits it doesn't know.
Because at the end of the day, I'm sure most of you guys have seen what took place earlier with the storming of, their lawmaking, buildings, congressional, governmental buildings. The president's home, Lula's home, was taken over. You had all this stuff. I'm going to show you guys what happened.
If that happened, no one talked about it. I have no fucking idea where he got that from. I haven't heard a single fucking thing about that, and I've been looking at this. I mean, keeping up to date with it. All right, does he mean the presidential palace? Does he think that like the presidential palace is Lula's house? He just called like the fucking official executive branch building Lula's house. It's like calling the fucking White House like Obama's house or Biden's house or something. That's really funny. Like he talks like a 14-year-old. It's how you know he is one.
I'm going to show you what Glenn Greenwald has to say about this, what the press is saying about this. But there's a lot happening right now. The only reason why he's not just straight up saying this is like a straight up deep state Lula-backed conspiracy is because Glenn Greenwald somehow, after everything, still hasn't yet completely backed to the Brazilian right wing. I'm sure it's coming soon enough. All it'll take is for Lula to say something positive about trans people or something like that. That's the only reason why Jackson Hinkle is still here, like even casting any doubt on the possibility this is a George Soros conspiracy. No, there were claims about the election in Brazil, and I don't have any opinions on this. I mean, I don't know.
He doesn't have any opinions on this. He doesn't know.
I know nothing about elections in Brazil. I don't know anything about them, so I can't really.
At least he says it, okay? At least he says it. I appreciate the honesty. Here. I just wish like all the other idiotic commentator streamers would say the same.
Have any sort of an opinion on this, but there's a lot of people that were very upset, to say the least, that Lula secured the victory. He won the presidency. Okay, so there was a lot of people very upset about this, and there was a lot of people who felt as though there was nefarious activity at play.
What people? Who? Idiotic, fascist, right-wing, piece of shit, QAnon style conspiracy theorists. Yeah, people is a very generous term to describe them, in my opinion, though.
Okay. And, well, again, I have no idea. I haven't seen any evidence in either direction. What I can tell you is that...
Like, he hasn't seen any evidence of election fraud. That means that both sides must be equally valid, right? Because you would expect, for the thesis that something untoward happened, you would expect there to be some sort of evidence for it that you would see for you to have to give some credibility to that notion. He doesn't need to say any, though. He's just trying to play his idiotic audience of like conspiracy theorist morons, so he can't say that there wasn't election fraud.
The State Department, the CIA, and
the State Department, the CIA,
were very happy with the prospects
of Joe Biden
serving
himself
as president over the prospects of Bolsonaro serving as president again. Now,
this guy is just a fucking moron. The only reason why the US has stopped backing Bolsonaro, who they have factually backed from the very beginning, who they factually assisted to get into office in the first place by putting Lula into jail with that deal, because Obama and Trump's Department of Justice backed Operation Car Wash, which was just so transparently an anti-left lawfare operation designed to attack the left in Brazil, and it did that amazingly. It resulted in one coup against Dilma, and then it resulted in Lula getting put in jail, clearing Bolsonaro's way to the presidency. The only reason that the US has now turned against Bolsonaro is because of all of this optically unviable shit that he's been doing for them. So someone like Jackson Hinkle is too fucking dumb to think about that, isn't he? He's too fucking stupid to think about, well, how the fuck could they possibly keep backing Bolsonaro with all the shit that he's been saying, all the fucking ridiculous shit that he and his supporters have been doing, and have it even remain remotely viable? They have to keep up appearances, and the only way for them to do that is to be like, okay, we'll cut this guy loose now, and we'll just back his replacement 6 months or a year down the line and start subverting the center left in Brazil again. Obviously. But Jackson Hinkle's like, the CIA, deep state, Joe Biden, they love Lula.
I'm not any particular fan of Bolsonaro or of Lula.
What?
I think the Lula of maybe 8-10 years ago was better, but this Lula...
What changed?
It's a different Lula. It's a new era. There's
It's literally exactly the same. Nothing about him has changed at all. What are you talking about?
changes afoot, and I could talk about those, but I'm not going to right now. I very
He could talk about those. He could present evidence, but he's not going to.
was out in the past. But what I can tell you is that there's multiple possibilities here. Either A, this is a real uprising and people are actually, you know, taking over these buildings. B, this is some sort of a intelligence hatched operation and it's astroturf to a certain extent. C,
What reason would there be? What possible reason would there need to do that? Lula's already in power. Like, what possible reason would there be for an intelligence operation to have like a bunch of dipshits trash the Capitol?
this is what was the other things I was going to say? This is an effort. This is maybe a mixed operation. It's real and it's astroturf, but this is being...
This guy just like, he just makes shit up. I honestly, like the level of confidence that it takes to admit that you just don't know what you're talking about and then go ahead and just straight up invent shit wholesale, like the wildest conclusions you could ever possibly draw. Just come up with them on the spot. Honestly, I have respect for this. This is a good grift. This is a good way to make money. You don't need to think. You just go live and just say whatever the fuck comes to mind. But this is a deep state operation. Could be this, could be that. Now I don't know what I'm talking about, but I will say it could be this, it could be that. It could be like, you know, it could be like the fucking Navy SEAL Spec Ops coming in here to do a false flag operation against the legitimate government of Brazil, led by Jair Bolsonaro, my president. Amazing.
Done to try and consolidate power in Lula's government to a more globalist aligned position.
To a more globalist aligned position. To try and consolidate power in Lula's government to a more globalist aligned position. What the fuck does that mean? Why does Lula need to consolidate power? He's already the president. What power does he need to consolidate exactly? What are you talking about? What exactly do you think is happening as a result of this to help him consolidate power in a globalist aligned position? Let us know.
Those are the main things I can see here.
Those are the main things you can see here. Show us what you see.
Or it's again, or actually option A. It's these people are just actually upset and they want to Lula out of power. I don't know. But what I can show you is that Lula did make some very suspect decisions when he first took over power. So Lula da Silva recruited members of George Soros's Open Society for his government, and it wasn't just anybody that's...
Let's look at this article. Let's check out this epic article. I'm sure it's great. Lula da Silva's possible government in the event that the irregularities in the past electoral process are legitimized. So it's right off the bat. Someone claiming that Lula winning was a fraud. Stop the steal. Great source man has begun to define its main names in the transition team. 2 international nominations should be highlighted, namely Pedro Abramove and Monica Valente. The first, which represents globalist forces and radical progressive politics, and the second, identified with the values of the Sao Paulo Forum, communism and socialism. Isn't he supposed to be a communist? Now, if you don't know what the Forum of Sao Paulo is, it's like a center-left Latin American think tank, basically, that is aligned with like the pink tide, sort of. It was like came to being with the pink tide in Latin America, still exists today, and there's like massive conspiracy theories in Latin America that like the Sao Paulo Forum is like some sort of like it's like a Masonic style thing where like the Sao Paulo Forum is secretly pulling the strings of everyone in the world behind the scenes to do communism and socialism in Latin America. So what we have here is like a idiotic far-right made-up bullshit conspiracy theory blog. And the first guy they're talking about, I know this name. I think this was Lula's justice minister 12 years ago. So in his first government, he was the Secretary of Justice while Lula was the president in 2011. Hey, Jackson, didn't you say that you liked Lula in the previous government? And now your problem is that apparently, according to this article, which I'm not even going to look up because I don't care if this guy wants to transition team or not, that Lula recruited someone who he had previously worked with in his previous government that you yourself said was good to work with him in his new government. Okay. I don't give a fuck.
Lula da Silva got together. So Lula da Silva chose multiple people from the Open Societies Foundation, but in particular for his transition government, he chose that the position of foreign minister that oversees, you know, all foreign relations, BRICS, China, Russia, war in Ukraine, all this stuff that would be giving comment and strategy. And
the Brazilian foreign ministry oversees the war in Ukraine. I didn't know that, but it's good to know now.
You know, political advice to Lula on all of this stuff and making decisions about all this stuff. He was the leader of George Soros's Open Society.
Do you think Lula needs advice on foreign policy?
Foundation for Latin America for several years. So this guy is as glowy, as globalist, the CIA as it gets.
So wait, so after he was the Minister of Justice in Lula's government, he took a job at the Open Society Foundation. That means he is as glowy, as globalist, as CIA as it gets. And he's also not the foreign minister. He's not a part of this government. The foreign minister of Brazil is someone completely different. It's this guy. He was the foreign minister under Dilma. Lula's successor. So what the fuck are you talking about? He's making shit up. He's making shit up based on like a far-right fucking random QAnon-style conspiracy article that also denounces communism and socialism. This is incoherent. My 14-year-old friend. This makes no sense at all.
Lula da Silva chose him to be his foreign minister in the transition government, okay? But let's take a look at this because that means absolutely nothing. Again, this could mean...
Not only does it mean nothing, it's just made up. Maybe you should scroll, let's scroll down to the rest of the article. Let's see what else he's citing. It just talks about the globalist agenda. So among the agendas promoted by the Open Society are alarmist and progressive environmentalism and radical identity agendas. Like the problem that they have with it isn't the neoliberalism, it's the environmentalism and the radical identity agendas. And then on the very next fucking line, they complain about a fucking indigenous rights group. This is straight up like a far-right fucking Fox News style conspiracy article. And this is the only source that he cites here. He cites like the first paragraph, the first two paragraphs, and he claims that this guy is the foreign minister when he's not the foreign minister. He's not even a part of this government at all. He was the justice minister 12 years ago. And that's his evidence that Lula has been co-opted by the CIA, glowing Open Society, George Soros agenda, even though Lula's platform is exactly the same as it's always been. Amazing.
This could mean
it's funny like how they come up with this shit, because Bolsonaro was, and always has been, the candidate of neoliberalism, which is basically what these people use globalism as like a dog whistle for, because I guess they're not allowed to say neoliberalism because they like capitalism. Like, it makes no fucking sense at all. If you want the candidate of globalism, look at Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro, who supported like rabid free marketism in Brazil to the detriment of its own population for the benefit of US corporations. That is globalism. It's not fucking Lula who wants to be basically like as far as the opposite of that he can get away with.
Nothing. It could mean that people are actually uprising against him. It could mean that
it could mean anything. It could mean all of
them. Maybe
globalist forces.
There's not enough control of Lula.
Globalist forces. You know, they just want to control Lula with his foreign minister, who's not his foreign minister. They just want to control him with this foreign minister they invented, who's not actually his foreign minister. He was also already in his government 12 years ago. His government that I said that I liked. The globalist forces, the Open Society, George Soros. Holy shit, he's literally a child.
And they want to pressure him into putting more establishment glowy globalist picks in his government. You know, I have no idea, but let's just take a look at first what Glenn Greenwald has.
Establishment glowy globalist picks. Like Jair Bolsonaro, who was literally handpicked by like what is an actual deep state. Like the judicial deep state. As what the actual meaning of deep state is, like people who are always there in the background, operating politically against the left, do everything they can to foment a coup against Dilma, and then to put Lula in jail and get Bolsonaro out in the first place. That is an actual deep state. Jesus.
To say about the situation today, because it is really crazy. So, breaking news: pro-Bolsonaro protesters have invaded the National Congress, the Senate building, also outside the presidential palace. News is very breaking. Hard to know how many are there. Lula is not in Brasilia, but in Sao Paulo due to heavy storms there. Okay, these pictures give a bit of a clearer picture as to how many protesters are on the roof of the congressional building. You can see more images like this on CNN Brazil, so that's an ungodly amount of people. Also, now images and reports that protesters have, in addition to entering the Congress, also broke doors and windows to enter the Supreme Court building, a major source of anger for pro-Bolsonaro supporters, as well as the presidential palace. Remember that Jair Bolsonaro himself left Brazil in the last...
This entire time, Bolsonaro is just in Florida getting like a stomach bug from eating too much KFC. God.
Last day of his presidency for the United States, where he is living in the house of an ex-MMA fighter in Orlando. I'm actually not sure who that is, but I would have to imagine he's commented very little since the election on anything in Brazil. Lula now giving a nationally televised press conference about the invasions of 3 branches of government in Brasilia, calling them fascists, warning that all will pay under the force. All will pay under the force of law. Announced he signed a decree ordering federal forces to restore order, and you can see that right here. So Lula declared security intervention in Brazil, in Brasilia, the capital, after Bolsonarista riots. Lula called out the rioters fascists, fanatics, and said that they will be punished with the full force of the law. The federal intervention in Brasilia will last until January 31st. He added in a speech. Okay. Brazilian authorities have secured control of all government buildings. That was 5 hours ago. At least 170 people are arrested, though that number is certain to rise. No reports of deaths, but widespread property destruction.
Is this what he does? He just like reads off tweets and then like says, I don't know. It could be all of this shit I made up. Again, I don't know. Basically like a trick that you play to like appeal to an idiot conspiracy brain audience where like with no like plausible reason to suspect something, no evidence for it or anything, you just say like, look, I don't know what's happening here, but here's like 5 different possibilities, and like 1 or 2 of them make sense. And then there's like the rest of them that are just like completely off the wall. Like, how would you even throw that in there? It's like, look, I don't know what happened here. It could just be like a bunch of far-right fascist people who organize on Facebook, organize a protest, you know, between them naturally, whatever. It could also, you know, they could have some backing from like, you know, right-wing bourgeois or something there, who knows. Or it could also be like they were beamed in by the same aliens, the ancient space aliens who created the pyramids back in 3000 BC. They could have been beamed directly into Brasilia in order to like delegitimize Bolsonaro on behalf of George Soros, Open Society Foundation, Glowy, CIA. You never know which one it could be, right? Like it could be one of those totally plausible scenarios, or it could be ancient Egyptian space aliens on behalf of George Soros, CIA, Glowy. You never know. You never know, man. The globalist alien forces. Who knows, honestly? It could be anything.
Inside Supreme Court and Presidential Palace has been reported. One of the questions is the extent of the involvement of political and security officials in the federal district. Lula's office itself couldn't be reached because of special security doors, but here is destruction of his cabinet area in the Presidential Palace. Okay, so there you see just completely ransacked. This was in the presidential home, the palace. The residence of President of Brazil has been captured by supporters of the former head of the state. Lula has been evacuated to a secure location. Earlier today, the building of the federal Supreme Court was also taken over.
Okay, give us your opinion. Oh, here we go, the deep state.
On the presidential palace. But I want to show you this too, because this is also interesting. Now, Bernie Sanders is obviously a deep state globalist pawn.
He just doesn't. He doesn't need to prove anything that he says. He can just toss out the buzzwords and they're like, yep, deep state globalist pawn.
Hansen put this up. He said, this is your reminder that Bernie Sanders leaked that the CIA has been in Brazil for months. I'm sure that this is all completely organic, though. So listen to this right here.
Biden administration, before we talk about the relationships with progressive governments, they have, and I think in an unusual way, sent the CIA and sent the Secretary of Defense down to Brazil over the last several months to make it clear that they did not want to see a rigged election or a coup.
Now,
this is so fucking funny because, you know, they send them there on behalf of the US government to interact with who exactly? Who was in power in Brazil? Who was in power in Brazil then? Was it Bolsonaro? Yes, it was Bolsonaro. Do you know why these people meet with Bolsonaro? Do you know why they always meet with the right wing in these countries and never the left or anything is remotely like that? Because they're on their side. Because they talk strategy with them. They talk, okay, so we'll support you if you do this, we'll support you if you do this. And obviously they were telling Bolsonaro, hey man, because of what happened in our country on January 6th, because of how much we've been playing it up ever since then, we can't have you do anything like that and still support you. So, you know, maybe play it down a little bit. It's so fucking obvious. You just need to use like basic logic to think about these things for 2 seconds. Like, does he think that like they sent like random CIA agents to do like espionage in Brazil, then openly announced it? This is the USA interacting with governments that have been on their side to tell them, hey, stop doing this dumb shit that is compromising our ability to support you. It wasn't leaked or anything. They're not meeting with the left wing to conspire against Bolsonaro. They are meeting with Bolsonaro, the guy on their team, to tell him how and what to do. Yeah, the guy arrived in Brasilia 6 months after the January 6th assault on the Capitol. This happened years ago. Years and years ago. Even like before there was any like talk of the 2022 Brazilian elections, anything like that. Obviously, because the Democrats in the US can't tenably, optically support someone who sounds like fucking the Republicans in the USA. So they need him to shut the fuck up about that shit so that they can keep backing him. But he didn't. Like, Jackson Hinkle is the dumbest motherfucker in the world. He just points at things and says, CIA, come on, deep state globalist.
I have no idea, but...
You just said you have no idea, what was that, 6 times? But I'm gonna talk like
if I were a betting man, and I were to put a bet down, let me read one more thing for you before I actually say what I think is maybe happening. Bolsonaro responds to Brazil riot charges. Former president said that peaceful demonstrations are part of democracy. Former Brazilian leader Jair Bolsonaro has denied any responsibility for the unrest that unfolded in the capital.
You know what's happening with Bolsonaro is that he's basically realized that he's politically dead. And he's decided that he's just going to go to Florida and try to live the life of like the average rich Latin American fascist exile while knowing that the US probably isn't going to extradite him if Brazil charges him for anything, because they never do. So obviously Hinkle's going to try to spin that into some sort of globalist deep state
After
conspiracy.
President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva accused his right-wing predecessor of filling the heads of his supporters with extremism. Peaceful demonstrations in the form of the law are part of democracy. However, depredations and invasions of public buildings...
Come on, Lula. These people don't need Bolsonaro to fill their heads with extremism. These are like the rich upper middle class at minimum, mostly white people who just don't like the fact that poor people might be able to do things that they do if you give them a tiny little bit of welfare. That's what these people hate.
As occurred today, as well as those practiced by the theft in 2013 and 17, escaped the rule. So, he's basically saying it's illegal, whatever. If I were a betting man, and I'm not, and I know nothing.
Wow, he said that 15 times in the last minute.
I know nothing. But I would have to say this is either a legitimate uprising of the people, and
a legitimate uprising of the people, 1,500 people storming an empty building, a bunch of empty buildings. That's the people to you. Anything can be the people to you, dude. Holy shit.
People are going to be prosecuted as a result of, storming these buildings and vandalizing the buildings and ransacking offices in the presidential palace and the Supreme Court, or this is probably without even Lula's knowledge being done covertly in an astroturfed manner to try and pressure Lula into a position. Probably.
How would this pressure Lula into a position of anything? How would this pressure him in any way, shape, or form? It's like an embarrassment for everyone on the other side. How is this pressuring him at all? If anything, this has been good for him.
Unconsciously, he is not aware of astroturfing, if this is the case, to put more U.S.-aligned deep state officials.
How?
Within his administration.
I mean, the one person who identified in this administration as a U.S.-aligned deep state official wasn't actually. You said he was the foreign minister. He's not even involved.
Okay, the U.S. is probably coming to him and saying right now, despite whether or not this is astroturfed or not, and saying, this is really scary. You should put some more people from the Open Society Foundation in your government. They'll help secure your rule of power. You create a stronger coalition with the establishment.
Who's the establishment? Who are you talking about? What the fuck?
No. So I don't know.
Who's the establishment if it's not everyone who loves Bolsonaro?
No, we do know that the riots have been suppressed already, but I don't know. No one died. Lots of arrests.
Shame.
If I were a betting man, I have no idea. I'm not at all, hell-bent and I'm willing to die on this hill, but I would say that I would not be surprised if in parts this was astroturf, and
I would not be surprised if it was the shit that I have absolutely no reason to suspect. There's no historical backing for any of this. There's no evidence for it. There's no reason to suspect it at all, because obviously the US has backed the right wing in Brazil forever, and they backed Bolsonaro, and they got him to power in the first place. And obviously Lula is not aligned with their economic goals in Brazil, which is what they care about in regards to their foreign policy. But still, somehow, if he was a betting man, he would go with the only possible losing bet. You should stick to not being a betting man, my friend. Holy fuck.
States is using this to secure more deep state pawns within the Lula government because they already have the foreign minister.
They don't have the foreign minister.
Overhead of the Latin American Open Societies Foundation, and they probably want more, and Lula was probably not willing to give up.
Oh my God.
And this might be something that would be used as a...
Yeah, this is what happened, okay? So Lula secretly met with the CIA when they were in, when he was like in jail, when they came to visit Bolsonaro. He met with the CIA and they were like, we're going to have to put this Open Society Foundation He's like, which other side is Amazing Guy? Do you remember your Justice Minister? Yeah. Of course I do. Well, he's our guy. We need him to be a father. And he's like, okay, I'm going to appoint someone else as my father. I guess that's what happened. I guess. Well, who knows, man?
Leverage over Lula's head. I have no idea though. Only time will tell, or maybe it won't, and we'll never know. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the live chat. Let me know in the comments what you think about this situation that's unfolding in Brazil.
Wow, that was impressingly stupid and bad. I do appreciate the fact that he at least announces that he's just making shit up and he has no fucking idea what he's talking about. That is a refreshing change from the average streamer, but I gotta say, the just call everything glowy, deep state, globalist or whatever with no backing whatsoever. That's a good grift, a very easy one to, making money like that is very solid. Good on him. He's like 14 years old, and this is what I would call a true entrepreneur. Making the bank, If his parents didn't hate him and weren't estranged from him, he could probably buy them a house.
Meet Laura, a determined single mom with a dream. She opened Mama Rita's, a Mexican-American restaurant named as a tribute to her grandmother's legacy. Laura went from running a successful catering business to the sizzle of a formal restaurant. However, Laura soon discovered that the journey wasn't as straightforward as she had anticipated.
I'm serving 200 people. I've served 1,000 people in the catering job. How could it be so hard?
The head chef, Perla, is having a difficult time adjusting from the catering side of the business to running a successful restaurant kitchen.
It'll be okay. Promise you it'll be okay.
Unfortunately, Laura isn't showing Perla the tough love she needs. And here's the kicker. She's putting everything on the line with almost $2 million worth of debt accumulated so far. If this doesn't pan out for her in the restaurant, her house is on the foreclosure chopping block. Serious stakes, right? It's make or break time for Laura. Faced with the complexities of the restaurant business, Laura made the pivotal decision to seek the expertise of renowned chef Gordon Ramsay on Kitchen Nightmares. But Ramsay is less than impressed with how Laura runs the restaurant.
Are you her boss or are you her friend?
I am her boss.
Sure, you're her friend.
Transitioning from catering to restaurant management wasn't the smooth ride Laura anticipated. Mama Rita's is located in Newbury Park, California, located 45 miles northwest of Los Angeles in the mountains. Founded by Laura in honor of her late grandmother, Rita, the restaurant reflects a personal and flavorful journey inspired by Rita's culinary legacy. With the ultimate goal of one day making Mama Rita's into a Mexican restaurant chain, Laura invested significant time and money into the restaurant. Heading to Southern California for the Transformative Kitchen Nightmares episode, Gordon was warmly greeted by the aspiring owner, Laura, upon entry. He was then impressed with the interior. It is a large and very beautifully designed restaurant in an upscale strip mall that was just built a year prior in 2008. After having a brief chat with Laura, Gordon decided to sit down and try the food out for himself. At the table, Gordon is greeted by Brad, the waiter. Gordon asks him if there are any dishes he should avoid ordering. Brad doesn't hold back.
Lotus, taquitos, empanadas, de pollo.
That's quite the list, but we respect Brad's honesty. The reason he says to avoid those particular dishes is that they are overly dry on the meat side. Next up, Gordon gets to meet the front of house manager, Cheryl. He inquires with her about why the restaurant is struggling. Her answer? The old lack of customers answer that failing restaurants always give, which prompts Chef Ramsay's follow-up.
So why are we not getting customers?
We need more customers. We need to figure out how to get more people in here.
Gordon's facepalm after that answer clearly shows how he felt about Cheryl as the manager.
Lack of customers. Brilliant, that's great insight there.
The initial dish to grace Gordon's table was the tamales, which unfortunately fell short of expectations, dry and unappetizing. Gordon promptly summoned Laura for a candid discussion. It was revealed that the tamales were prepared ahead of time in big batches and then reheated to order. This led Gordon to observe that Mama Rita's was operating more like a catering service than a functioning restaurant. The chicken chimichangas followed suit, providing Gordon's table a sense of anticipation from Laura. Still, the outcome was unsurprisingly negative. The dish was incredibly dry, prompting its swift return to the kitchen, or, as Gordon describes it,
Chimichanga into the bin.
Fingers crossed for the last dish, steak burrito. But it is reminiscent of wet cardboard, as Ramsay puts it. He even offered a taste to Brad, who had a more descriptive way of describing the taste.
The steak was gamey. It was kind of like a car wash, moist and mushy.
Huh. Okay, not sure what he meant by that, but it doesn't sound good. Laura is furious. She goes into the kitchen and gives Perla, the head chef, a piece of her mind, interrogating her over her cooking abilities. Gordon then arrives in the kitchen to have a chat with Perla and Laura about the quality of the food. He desperately wants to know why Laura is clinging to her old catering ways.
Why don't we do it properly?
Because everybody loved my catering.
Laura, feeling disheartened, couldn't hold back her tears. A venture into Mama Rita's kitchen unveiled a staggering reality. The restaurant had accumulated costs surpassing $1.5 million, coupled with an additional $350,000 in debt, totaling almost $2 million. To compound matters, Laura's house was at risk of foreclosure amid the 2009 Great Recession. Seeking a deeper understanding of the staff dynamics, Gordon observed Mama Rita's bustling dinner service. Given that the food was pre-prepared and essentially required reheating before serving, the kitchen operated efficiently with minimal wait times. However, customer complaints about the food's quality expressed a stark truth. While Mama Rita's may have been one of the fastest-serving restaurants in America, the quality suffered as a consequence. Suspecting corners were being cut, Gordon decides to investigate into the kitchen situation, discovering frozen tamales and chimichangas prepared 2 months prior. Hundreds of pre-made portions filling the walk-in prompted decisive action. Gordon discarded the majority, if not all, of the pre-cooked items. $12,000 worth of frozen food was laid out on display in the restaurant. This hands-on approach aimed to usher Mama Rita's from the realm of frozen fare to the vibrant world of fresh ingredients. Gordon suggested a challenge to encourage Laura and Perla's creativity in coming up with a menu dish using fresh ingredients. In this culinary challenge, they had 30 minutes to create a dish using fresh chicken or shrimp. While Laura successfully showcased creativity with her appealing blackened shrimp tacos, Perla faced some difficulty in conceptualizing her dish. When the dishes reached the stack, Gordon and Laura's creations received positive feedback. But Perla's dish?
Rice with
garlic and salt.
It lacked flavor and seemed a bit plain. Eventually, Ramsay's steak and Laura's tacos earned a place on the menu. The shift to using fresh ingredients posed some challenges for Mama Rita's kitchen, which was accustomed to the convenience of easy frozen reheats. Now, there was an adjustment to cooking from scratch, introducing a change from their usual routine. The challenges kept coming. One customer got an undercooked steak because Perla had a difficult time replicating Chef Ramsay's steak dish. And Laura? It hit her that the restaurant gig isn't just about the food. There's the whole guest expectations thing. See for yourself how she navigates a customer interaction.
Did you get one of them yet? What do you say this one? Do not Thank you.
I get that she's stressed with the crowd, but there's a basic decorum expected when dealing with paying customers, no matter the pressure. Despite all that, at least Laura, struggling under the heat, is really giving it everything she's got. On the flip side, Perla seems swamped adjusting the cooking on the new fresh, made-from-scratch menu. It's time for some tough love. A face-to-face discussion between Gordon and Laura ensued, based on how that evening's service went. Gordon commended Laura's resilience and willingness to step up as a restaurant owner for once. Yet, when it comes to her head chef, Perla, it is another matter altogether. Despite Gordon's warning to her that Perla is not cut out to be her head chef, Laura continues to defend her because she is like family. Following a heartfelt conversation, Gordon announced the reopening of the restaurant the next day. Bright and early the following morning, Gordon unveiled a surprise solution for one of Rita's challenges. With a beaming smile, he introduced Naris, one of his personal chefs, tasked with orchestrating an efficient kitchen system. But the surprises didn't stop there. The menu got a fantastic makeover. Full of vibrant colors and genuine flavors, the new dishes impress the entire staff, bringing a fresh, exciting vibe to the culinary experience. Given that the restaurant was already aesthetically pleasing, Chef Ramsay's team didn't find it necessary to undergo the typical remodeling process they often undertake on the show. The subsequent relaunch subjected everything to the ultimate test. While the new menu resonated with customers, Perla's lack of confidence in communication placed Chef Maurice in a supervising role as the rest of the cooks stood around, looking dumbfounded.
Line material in that woman.
Perla was stuck in a catering mindset and was not adjusting to a fast-paced kitchen environment well. Gordon pulls Laura aside once again to talk to her about Perla. This time her boyfriend. Perla has to go. Laura keeps defending her though.
Are you her boss or are you her friend?
I am her boss. And
no, you're her friend.
As Laura grapples with a tug of war between her head and her heart, in the kitchen, Perla has completely shut down. Laura takes Perla outside for a moment to have a heart-to-heart talk with her.
Okay, it'll be okay. I promise you it'll be okay.
In their final discussion before Chef Ramsay's departure, he candidly informs Laura that Perla is not suitable for the head chef position, urging her to make the challenging decision to part ways with her. As Ramsay leaves, he is less optimistic and somewhat more worried for Mama Rita's than he usually is with restaurants at the end of the episodes. Following Gordon's departure, Laura collaborates with Norris to implement operational changes. The episode concludes with a post-episode follow-up, detailing events after the late 2009 filming, but before the early 2010 airing of the episode. The narrator says in the follow-up to the episode that Laura has made the decision to reassign Perla to a catering role, removing her from the restaurant side of the business. A new head chef takes the reins at Mama Rita's. The episode ends with Laura expressing her intention to distinctly separate the catering and restaurant sides of the business moving forward. On March 19th, 2010, Mama Rita's hosted a viewing party at the restaurant for the debut of the Kitchen Nightmares episode. According to the attendees, the event had tears, laughter, pomegranate martinis, a phone call from the New York Times, and appearances by Brad, the evil waiter, and Perla, the not-a-chef cook. It drew a large and hungry crowd for the event that evening, who fed on an all-you-can-eat buffet of enchiladas, tacos, and chipotle cream sauce chicken. Laura addressed the crowd before Kitchen Nightmares was shown on the restaurant's TVs. "Who's going to beat me tonight if I cuss?" she joked, referring to how often Ramsay swears during a typical Kitchen Nightmares episode. The kitchen staff as well as the customers gathered around the TVs to watch the show as it premiered on television. In a funny twist, the crowd wasn't too thrilled and let out a chorus of boos when Brad hilariously warned Chef Ramsay about the no-go foods at the restaurant. "It's surreal seeing it now," he commented on the 10-month gap between filming and the TV debut. About his pre-makeover food comments, he added, "I stand by them. I'm glad I was honest." It got so busy that Laura was behind the bar at one point, mixing up cocktails during commercial breaks. And in a surprising turn of events, Laura declared that, despite what the show's narrator claimed, Perla was not shifted to the catering side of the business. In fact, Norris stuck around at the restaurant for 2 weeks post-show taping, training Perla one-on-one. Laura now insists that Perla rules the kitchen with an iron fist. Not only that, but Laura also returned to her original menu, opting to abandon many of Gordon's suggested dishes. We can see this in Laura's response to the blogger Eat Me California, who was at the relaunch night during the Kitchen Nightmares filming. She went on to further say that the portion size has gone back to how they used to do it after Gordon left, a bit larger than the smaller plates preferred by the Michelin chef.
Hi, my name is Laura. I own Mama Rita's Authentic Mexican Cantina, made entirely from scratch.
Despite both Gordon and Laura's best efforts, Mama Rita's continued to grapple with negative online reviews. While there was a slight increase in the ratings overall post-Kitchen Nightmares, patrons complained about subpar customer service and expensive prices. The restaurant found itself unable to shed its past reputation, facing an uphill battle to maintain a consistent customer base. Adding financial woes to their predicament, Mama Rita's faltered. The cumulative impact of maintaining a restaurant, coupled with a shrinking customer base and persistent negative reviews, proved insurmountable. Less than a year after their Kitchen Nightmares episode aired, Mama Rita's permanently closed its doors in December 2010. While Laura hasn't publicly disclosed the exact reasons for Mama Rita's closure, several factors likely played a role. The upscale location, with higher rent, coupled with its somewhat isolated position in a strip mall, contributed to the challenges. The expansive and opulent nature of the building, deemed too expensive by some, added further strain, and the lingering effects of the 2008-2009 recession impacted the restaurant's economic viability. The decision to revert to the old menu, abandoning the one crafted by a renowned Michelin-starred chef like Gordon Ramsay, might have also influenced the restaurant's ultimate fate. Following Mama Rita's, Laura went on to manage another restaurant. This time, it was the Mission Oaks Cafe in nearby Camarillo. The ratings were just average at 3.1 stars out of 5. The Mission Oaks Cafe would go on to close in 2019. While at the restaurant, Laura opened up about having invasive spinal surgery done on her to treat an injury from a horseback riding incident in her youth. She shared details of the surgery and post-op recovery. Her LinkedIn currently lists her as Director of Catering for Thousand Oaks Inn. As for the location that housed Mama Rita's, in December 2011, it became La Cucina di Venti, an Italian pizzeria that would fill the 4,300 square foot restaurant space. Reviews were mixed, with most people pointing out issues with the service and food quality. It would end up closing less than 2 years after moving into space formerly occupied by Mama Rita's. A third restaurant, The Local Table, would open in the location in February of 2014. Customers praised The Local Table for its food and drinks. However, similar problems would plague the restaurant, with customer service issues along with the issue of the location being somewhat away from everything. While it had a good 10-year run, eventually The Local Table would shut its doors in August of 2023. The fourth and the current restaurant to occupy the space is called Gemma. Describing itself on Instagram, Gemma prides itself on offering Californian-inspired cuisine, highlighting ingredients sourced from local farmers markets, and featuring a seasonally changing menu. It will be interesting to see what the fate of Gemma's will be. Reflecting on the original Kitchen Nightmares episode, Maurice, the chef Gordon Ramsay enlisted to train Mama Rita's after his departure, has since enjoyed a remarkable culinary career. Notably, she became the culinary producer for the popular TV show Bar Rescue and contributed to one of Terry Crews' holiday movies. Today, she serves as a private chef based in Los Angeles, specializing in curated gatherings. Maurice has collaborated with numerous celebrities, married, started a family, and in 2015, had the honor of cooking at the Obama White House. Brad, the waiter who openly shared his thoughts with Chef Ramsay about the dishes at Mama Rita's, pursued a career in music and songwriting. You can check out some of his musical performances on his website, Brad Kirsch Music. It's nice to see that Brad stayed in touch with Laura.
I'm so sleepy, but good thing I have Melvin's Macabre manga to help me. It's only available till January 1st, then it's gone.
Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Coming in and sitting down because today we're talking about secret societies. Now, when the word secret society comes to mind, I see. They're not having a conversation with the screen right now. That's going to be really embarrassing. Does robes come to mind? What about masks? Perhaps candle-holding men discussing devious schemes? Were you just thinking of Eyes Wide Shut? Seems like it. What if I told you what you've heard of secret societies isn't just goofy movie tropes? Would you believe me? A secret society is basically any group or organization participating in activities while sworn to the utmost secrecy. Can't tell anybody this Illuminati. Beyonce, she ate a child. I love watching Beyonce Illuminati videos. That's the only ones I ever believe.
Where you going, mate? Search up with Satan associated with their called.
All the other ones, I'm like, nah. I'm like, Beyonce, I bet that bitch did do something. You know what I mean? There are many examples of secret societies throughout history, some that are still running to this very day. Today, want to talk about the strange, mysterious world of secret societies. More specifically, one that people believe is powerful enough to shape the state of the entire f***ing world. I'm talking, of course, about Bohemian Grove. Bohemian Grove, I think, is by far the most popular conspiracy theory, secret society thing of all time. People have been sneaking in there for I don't even know how long, looking at a giant goddamn owl statue. I mean, it's basically like ghost hunting. They just like walk around, they're like, what is that? What is that? And they just see like a truck drive by. What the hell? Oh my God, guys. Oh my God. But it gets played up a lot for horror movies because I think that it's nice to think that, well, it's not nice, it's just, it's easy to believe that wealthy people would get together and run the world as like a book club. That makes sense to me. You get together, you do unspeakable things, but you do it with your bros. And they're all politicians. They're all George Bush, Mitt Romney. All the politicians, you were like, I don't like that guy. But Bohemian Grove is a secret society that the world is wildly fascinated by. It's been running for over 150 years and is still going to this day. It originated in San Francisco in 1872. According to Sam Singer, a member and club spokesman, quote, it's a group of gentlemen who are really genuinely, no, I'm serious, interested in arts, theater, jazz, and of course, rock and roll. Nothing else. Cigars and brandy. Don't look in the basement. And women were banned from entry. This is a men's club, okay? No women allowed. Just the way it's supposed to be. It was a private, men's-only club. Women were furious. What else is new, dude? They're all on the rag, and they're like, you know what? We're gonna go. We're gonna sue them.
It's just rich people wanting to get away from their wives.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of guys just being like, get me the fuck out of here. Well, how do we know that John F. Kennedy wasn't in the Bohemian Grove and that's what helped him?
And then he didn't pay his due diligence.
He didn't show for brandy cigars and they're talking jazz and rock, and that's when they're like, we're gonna kill that son of a bitch.
The funniest conspiracy I read is that the CIA told Oswald to miss, but he accidentally shot him twice.
Fuck! He's a great shot! Every year, during the last 2 weeks of July, the members would join together for a relaxing retreat, similar to a summer camp. Grown men being like, does anyone want to pretend to be 9 years old at the lake again? They were able to practice and share their art as well as play recreational sports and engage in stimulating conversations with like-minded people. Is this Anthony Elliott's pipe dream? Could be. Their mascot is an owl, as it symbolizes wisdom. I always thought that was weird. Why owls always wisdom? I will say, you know, it's a fucking great episode of Avatar Last Airbender. Is when they go in that tower, that library. There's the owl walking around there. Ooh, he's a big owl. Ooh, and he tries fucking him up. Oh, it scared the shit out of me. It's just scary.
When you see Secret of Nim, that owl me up.
I never like Secret of Nim.
We're not friends.
Okay. This relates to the origins of Bohemian Grove, which focus on a gathering of talented intellectuals. You know these Warzy, because it always looks boring, doesn't it? Get me in that club, dude. I got a cock. Barely. For a time, being a member was exclusive to people who were artistically talented and had a deep knowledge of the arts. But after some time, they slowly loosened this criteria for entry to allow people who were merely enjoyers of art. I feel like they definitely branded them, though, too. So you enjoy this art, but you don't know how to make it, you have to wear the fool's cap. I'm practicing watercolors. Definitely. It was possible that this was for the purposes of allowing more businessmen and other wealthy people to join and financially support the club's endeavors.
The owl is in his leafy temple. That's all within the grove be reverent before him.
Okay, well, what are we gonna do? Bankroll this forever, guys? What the Eventually, this led to the wealthy and influential people overshadowing.
This video that came out, North Star Radio, also known as Comrade Casey, put out this video titled Ethan Klein and the Rise of Liberal Islamophobia, and I kind of wanted to watch it. I kind of feel like Casey knows how to cook. Comrade Casey, more like Cook Casey, more like Chef Casey. Let's see it, shall we?
But Israel is really crazy. They figure out ways to prevent this stuff. Like, the stabbing was happening for a few months, and now it doesn't really happen so much. And I don't even know how, but they have like their secret ways.
אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק.
Yaov, really good guy, gallant. No electricity, no food, no water. We are fighting human animals. We are acting accordingly.
When you talk about privilege, let's talk about someone who's going to UC Berkeley, paid by their parents $200,000 tuition on campus protesting Israel. Do you find that ironic?
I personally think it's so ironic. Like, it's just like, I don't know, it's kids sitting here in like beautiful California criticizing, like, you don't even know what you're talking about.
What we're seeing now at Columbia, and I don't use this.
Kids sitting here in beautiful California. Why is Hila being anti-Semitic by suggesting that there are other places in the world that aren't beautiful like California is?
Team deathmatch. Ward lightning. We're not seeing ideological war. We're not seeing support for terrorism. We are seeing terrorism.
When I grew up, I couldn't really take a bath. I was afraid of blowing up. And now it doesn't really happen, so the wall didn't help. So should we not have a wall?
Since the events of October 7 and the ongoing disproportionate retaliation by the Israeli state, both Islamophobia as well as anti-Semitism have been on the rise in the United States.
And the Palestinians are taught to kill us at 2 years old!
That's pretty spicy. Yeah.
Do we have that one?
Man, I don't understand. 2-year-old Palestinian terror babies. Okay.
Left-leaning media, which is mostly Jewish, are calling people white supremacists, dude.
Jewish? Did you just say that?
Yeah, I just don't understand.
Left-wing media is mostly Jewish?
In order for Israel to maintain their system of apartheid and to justify their inhumane actions in Gaza, Islamophobia is quite obviously ingrained in Israeli society and Israeli politics. However, by associating itself and its actions with the religion of Judaism, falsely claiming to be acting on the wishes of the Jewish diaspora, Israel, ironically, is also perpetuating anti-Semitism, and that is 100% by design.
They are vehemently against not only Israel, not only the Jewish students. Anti-Semitism is unquestionably a problem at the universities, but it goes significantly beyond that. These are protesters who are being influenced by outside organizations. The Islamic Republic of Iran is thanking them for their work. They are giving permission to these terrorists.
Overnight, the U.S. House passed a bill 32291 in a group of overnight
for their being influenced by outside organizations. The Islamic Republic of Iran is thanking them for their work. They are giving permission to these terrorists.
Overnight.
That person was talking about pro-Palestinian rallies at universities. And she said they are giving permission to these terrorists. Yes, the brave American college students are giving permission to terrorists to do what they want. I didn't know college students had the power to give permission for that. From my understanding, it's really only the U.S. that gives permission to other countries to do terrorism. Nobody else has really given any permission to do terrorism. But I guess you learn something new every day. They needed a permission slip. But I guess the college students gave it to them, yeah.
Tonight, the U.S. House passed a bill 32291, and a group of representatives say they want to protect their Jewish constituents. And the bill would essentially make it easier for the Department of Education to enforce anti-discrimination laws at public institutions.
This bill would require the Department of Education to use the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism, denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination by claiming that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor.
Anti-Semitism is an ancient form of bigotry, but since the creation of Israel for the past 80 years or so, it's been used.
Breaking out rocket launcher.
When you're at the point